Next up in the stream, we have Riley. Riley wants to debate. They said number 6, so pro-choice. We'll find out. Riley, welcome to stream. Can you just provide me your age and pronouns?
Hi, I am 18. I am she, her. Fun little fact. I originally tried to call you when I was 16. I thought that was very respectful of you, how you said that I should wait, so I waited.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
2 years, so you've set the precedent, so the call better be worth it, Riley. Did you want to talk, were you calling to talk about the pro-choice topic?
So specifically, I want to clarify that part of my beliefs is because of my religion. This debate is not about my religion in general. That can be a separate debate, but yeah, so I have 3 main points on what I believe. First is about how I believe I'm pro-life, but there is a certain boundary in which I understand that there is someone, you should be able to have that choice for the first 4 weeks, and I'll get to that. And then I also have moral concerns about how, if we allow abortion to a certain extent, where that might cause problems in the future. And then lastly, I want to discuss about how the atmosphere around abortion should not be how it is at the, I believe that abortion should be a part of public health care instead of private companies. So that's last point. Yeah, if we could start off with how, can I understand why you are so I understand that you are pro-choice, but to what extent?
Sure. My entire stance is that up to 24 weeks, I believe a person can have any type of abortion that they want. After 24 weeks, any abortion or removal of the fetus should be done in an effort to keep the fetus alive, if possible. If it's not possible, I would leave the choice up to the person who's pregnant on whether they wanted to give birth to the child at risk of their own life or not. It would just be up to them on what they wanted to do there.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm also taking notes because I don't want to get stuck in cycles. So I just need a second to write that down. So you said up to 24 weeks, and then after that, it's removal for the fetus's health, you said?
After 24 weeks, the type of removal should be one that prioritizes keeping the fetus alive, unless it's not medically possible to do so.
Okay. Okay. Also, really quickly, I have a bit of a toothache right now, so if I get aggravated, it's not for a reason. I'm in a little bit of pain. A lot of Tylenol, not working quite well right now. Sorry about that.
No
problem. I believe that it should only be legal for the first 4 to 5 weeks, because after the 5th week is when you can hear the heartbeat officially. So that means that there is something living. It's the same reason why vegans choose not to eat animals, because then they believe that they're killing a life.
Some vegans choose not to eat animals. Some will eat animals if the animal is already dead, right? If an animal dies of natural causes, then they don't care. My argument would be that my only rebuttal to that would be what does it having a heartbeat have to do? Why does that make it inherently wrong to have an abortion?
Because I believe in the sanctity of life. That ties into my religion. So will you be able,
really quickly, Riley, will you be able to create an argument for your stance that is not tied to your religion? Because in order to set the arguments forth here, if you're going to say, well, I believe in the sanctity of life because of my religion, you now have to prove your religion is real, which is just an uphill battle for anybody.
Yeah. So I will eventually, I am still building my argument. This is a little practice run. So I'm still definitely working on it. But yeah, at the moment it is that the sanctity of life for me is based on my religion, but in the future I do eventually want to grow it outside of that to more scientific evidence. But I know for a fact that I need to reach out to more firsthand accounts and resources. But so first, so the book of Psalm, which is written by King David, who is a historically proven figure who was real, it says that a person is knit together in their mother's womb, which means that life has started there. It doesn't start when you exit the womb, but when you're still in it. And so that's where I base my belief on that. And then also another part of it that really strikes me a bit more to my core is that I had an abortion around 6 weeks at one point. And that still to this day, I say is the worst decision that I've ever made in my life, because I know for a fact that there was a life that I took away that life should still be here. And
Okay.
like
So
that there is.
no, sorry, go ahead.
No. I would have started rambling, and if you have a point, I would like to hear it.
Yeah. So simply for my, like, if we want to get into the religion thing, we can. I mean, it would just be a conversation about how, because I believe Christianity specifically to be untrue, I wouldn't be following anything that the Bible says about like when life begins or how life does that, because I believe Christianity is just a fundamentally flawed religious state. We don't have to get into that. My bigger question is, I won't even give a question. I'll just belay my stance, and you can see what you can do with it what you will. When I look at humans, when I look at any creature, I look at harm, and I look at what causes harm, and I look at what can experience harm. And a fetus prior to 24 weeks does not have the structures in the brain developed so to the point that it can experience anything, let alone harm. So because this thing is not experiencing anything, right? Because this thing is not experiencing anything, I would say there's no issue with ending its life, because you're not ending a lived experience. You're not harming it in any way. If it was the case that it could experience harm, which is when we get into the 24-week range, this is why I say, like, probably don't kill it, because now that it has that experience, the loss of that experience is a negative.
Mm-hmm. So when you say, I also, like, my response is, like, what about people who are like in a vegetative state where they are still alive, but they aren't like fully
people
living.
in so there's a difference between living and experiencing, right? People in comas, they can still experience. Oftentimes people in comas will be able to recite conversations had in the room while they were in their coma. They'll be able to tell you about dreams they had while they were in a coma. They're still experiencing. If they have a complete loss of sentience, which would equate to brain death, I say pull the plug. The only reason I would say to keep the body alive is if you want to harvest the organs and give them to somebody that needs them. But at that point, they've become a body, and I don't see a negative or a harm in killing a body. And I believe a fetus prior to 24 weeks is, again, just a body. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean we should like outwardly kill fetuses, right? Because it's going to be, whether or not we should kill that body is going to depend on the pregnant person's value they place on the fetus. Yeah. So like if somebody who's pregnant places value on that fetus, then leave it alone. But if they don't place value on that fetus, and if they want to have that abortion, I say do it, because you're not engaging in any sort of harm metric.
Okay. That is a very good argument. I hear you. I see you. So yeah, for me, this is where you place your value. Like, I place a lot of value even in that life that hasn't experienced yet. Like, if it has, like, if a fetus is like fully able, like, if there is no signs of it being like misformed or like missing any chromosomes or anything, like if there is an obvious, like, this is a healthy fetus that will, like, if it was allowed to, it would live up to term and it would like survive. And my words are escaping me. Darn.
I just want to just to hit you there. What you're using is a potential argument. And potential arguments are fine, but they logically don't hold. Because what you're talking about now is not the fetus itself. You're just talking about what thing or action has the potential to become a life, essentially. And potential can be put to abstract things. It can be put to actions. It can be put to sperm. When provided the right environment, has the potential to become a human life, right? That, like, we shouldn't legislate men like spranken, you know? Just two people meeting and beginning the art of having sex, right, has now the potential for human life, but we're not going to legislate this in the same way, right? So potential is a hard concept. This is why I use sentience and why I use like the capacity, because it's not about some hypothetical thing that may or may not exist. It's about what the fetus currently has the capacity for. And if it does not have the capacity for sentience, it cannot experience anything. And so to me, killing something that can't experience anything is akin to me like chucking a rock into lava. Like, right? Nothing happened to it. Right? It's like there's no harm there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So then I think at that point we are locked in that argument because like I still don't have enough information to fully debate that. So I would appreciate if we could move on to the next one just because I don't have enough information to fully respond.
Okay, what's the next one?
My next one was about what's known as slippery slope theory, meaning that like if we allow abortion to a certain extent, at what point does it start like leading into other like forms of human life to be seen as lesser?
It never has. So.
It hasn't yet, but there always has to be concern. Like it's
no, because the slippery slope, a slippery slope fallacy has to be in order for it to remain out of the fallacy, you have to present how that slope can occur. So like what, like you're like just saying like you might have an answer and I'll listen to it, but just saying like it might lead to this is the fallacy, right? You have to demonstrate the slope in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my main concern is that like that could eventually lead to human euthanasia, specifically in the elderly. Like it's been in like a sense of once you start devaluing early signs of human life, it's like, well, what if you look at an older life, which is already like their productivity and living isn't as high as someone who's younger, so why keep it?
Yeah, but you have to remember the reason for abortion isn't due to productivity or anything like that. It's due to the lack of experience.
Okay.
So there wouldn't be a slippery slope leading to this.
Yet.
Well, no, not yet at all. Like the reasons for these things are different. So the one slope wouldn't come from the practice. The slope would come from something else, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Let me write that down. Okay. 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 Do you have anything else on your point for under that?
No, but the biggest thing you have to do in your argument is you have to figure out a way to ground it outside of religion. Like you just have to. Like right now, your entire argument, even though we're touching on different points of the argument, the underlying thing there is still sanctity of life born from religion, right? You have to try it has to be, you have to justify in a pro-life stance, you have to be able to justify why abortion is wrong and even past that, you have to justify why someone should be forced to engage with a pregnancy. Some typical pro-life arguments are going to be causal obligation stance. So saying that because you placed this creature into a state of dependency, therefore you're responsible for it. I have tons of counter arguments for that, but I'm just saying that's one of the stances. Some of these pro-life stances are going to be like a flow argument where they justify forcing pregnancy because they believe that a fetus has a future like ours, and therefore that future should not be terminated. I think this is also a lousy argument with a lot of holes. But you need to find some grounding, because when you say, I believe you shouldn't kill it in the womb because in Psalms it says X, if I can demonstrate to you that the Bible is largely fictional and Psalms and the Bible don't actually hold like any weight to like real life, then your entire argument falls apart. So you have to, in a pro-life stance, you have to try to justify it outside of religion. I mean, you don't have to. You could say, nope, I'm religious, and therefore it's this. But it's just then there's no argument anymore.
Yeah, and I think like, but if you don't follow religion, like I don't think it's as understandable about why I'm so like firmly planted in it, because like this is the code in which I live my entire life. So I am going to plant all my beliefs into what may seem to one as like a silly little book. Well, to me, it's a code of conduct in which I live by. And like I follow faith by. So I get where like it can be hard to just simply plant it. And I appreciate you in bringing that up. Yeah. So thank you for those
Well,
a
I
bit of
just
information I
want to make
could
sure.
Google.
I just want to point out it's not so much a. I understand why people are religious, and I understand that they have like this
Yeah.
code that they follow, and I understand all of this. I personally think it's silly. Like I think Christianity,
Yeah.
especially, has too many like logical holes. Um, but
Mhm.
like it's fine that you follow that for yourself. But when you're holding an abortion stance, the expectation most people are going to have is that you are for legislating this thing, especially because you've said it's wrong after 4 weeks that you'd want that legislated. At which point, now you have to justify why your moral beliefs and your moral stances, stuff that you believe internally and that might not be believed by everybody else, should be forced upon the population.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Okay. So my last thing, if you're okay to move on, this is just my last little bit, is about how I believe that if we cannot agree that that abortion, like if abortion is legalized, I don't believe that it should be within private health care. My main reason for this is that the majority of abortions in America is performed by Planned Parenthood, which is proven, and this is according to the Planned Parenthood website, is that the founder believed in euthanasia, which is an inherently racist and ableist ideology.
So just wait, I just want to stop because
Yeah, of course.
this information about Margaret Sanger gets mixed up quite a
Mhm.
bit from the pro-life side.
Mhm.
Margaret Sanger was a eugenicist in form of disability. She thought that we should be able to like weed out disabilities through means of like birth control and whatnot. She was not a eugenicist in terms of race. She actually worked very closely with prominent leaders of the civil rights movement in the Black communities in order to provide Black communities with contraception because it was something that the Black communities were saying they needed, even going so far as to say, I know that you won't take it from me, a white person. So like, how do we help you? How do you help? How do we get Black doctors in to help with this? Margaret Sanger was also Planned Parenthood didn't even start abortions until years after her death. And she was anti-abortion. In an interview that she had, she said abortion was one of the worst things a mother could do. She recognized that
Yeah.
it happens and that like there's a need for it, but she was staunchly anti-abortion. So like,
Mhm.
do I have an issue with Planned Parenthood performing abortions? No, it's a needed thing, and they perform it low cost, which is why they're one of the largest abortion providers. Were one of the largest abortion providers, but there's also a very large amount of people who get abortion from private doctors or private clinics. So I don't have really an issue
Yeah.
with Planned Parenthood in that regard.
Yeah. To counter that, I'm reading this directly off of their website.
Mm-hmm.
Is like this is what Planned Parenthood has approved as what is like true for their company. It quite literally says Sanger believed in eugenics on an inherently racist and ableist ideology that labeled certain people unfit to have children.
Yes,
And
the
then later
ideology of
it says, and
eugenics is typically referred to as like a racist ideology. But again, she didn't believe in euthanizing Black people, right?
yeah,
Like
okay, and
I can
then
have a belief that's like inherently a racist belief, like the ideology in and of itself. But eugenics is like is specific in how it's utilized. She didn't believe in eugenics for minority community. She believed in eugenics for disabled community, which is equally as bad. I'm not defending that. I just like to be
yeah,
clear
no, definitely.
on her beliefs.
Yeah. And then to follow it up with later in the or like later in the page, it says about how she spoke to the Women's Auxiliary of the Ku Klux Klan at a rally in New Jersey
Yes,
to
she did.
promote
Yes.
birth control methods.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And she endorsed the Buck v. Bell decision, which the Supreme Court ruled that they could forcibly sterilize people deemed unfit without their consent and sometimes without their knowledge. So
I'm sorry. Say that last part again.
So it says that ruled that states could forcibly sterilize people deemed unfit without their consent and sometimes without their knowledge. So this is saying like people who aren't people with Down syndrome, like who can't fully comprehend the full situation, or
Yes, that's because she was for the she didn't want disabilities to spread. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, it's like this is simply an allegory. It's like a lot of people, you'll find that people often won't buy Twinings tea because they were a part of the East Indian Trading Company. Like you'll find like certain people will choose not to spend their money on certain items because of what they stand for.
I think that's fine, but what I'm saying is, like, Planned Parenthood as an entity is not Margaret Sanger, right? Planned Parenthood as an entity is a separate beast, and Margaret Sanger, while yes, she spoke at a KKK rally, she in her book, when she talks about it, talks about how uncomfortable she was, but she felt it was necessary to talk to as many women about contraception as possible. So she spoke to these women because she thought, they probably won't have someone speaking to them. She didn't talk about race in her talk with them, and she literally never accepted another invitation to speak with them after because of how uncomfortable they made her, right? When it comes to Planned Parenthood, right? Planned Parenthood has never used money from the federal government for abortions because of the Hyde Amendment. The Hyde Amendment prohibits it. So their money for abortions comes from private grants and things like that. I think this is a good thing because it's a needed service in a lot of underfunded communities. And the alternative is we get rid of Planned Parenthood, in which case we're going to see a spike in back alley abortions, which leave women and other pregnant people in much further harm's way than had we just allowed them to receive an abortion from a licensed provider.
Yeah, which is a true point there. I'm so sorry, one sec. I was typing that down. Yeah, but I'm sorry, my words are escaping me. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Sorry. Anyways, what I was going to get to was that I believe that like we should remove, like, even though this is a company that might not have the greatest of beginnings, sanctity of life goes back to that. Like, all lives are inherently equal. This, like, following that up is, I'm so sorry, my words are getting all.
I will just say I do disagree. I don't think all lives are inherently equal. I think all sentient life is inherently equal.
Okay. I was really good to debate that one today. So I don't have any notes on that. Yeah. Okay. Let me just write that one down.
Oh, hold on. Hold on.
Yeah. What'd you say?
Sorry, my kid's doctor called. I just had to answer real quick. Sorry, I put you on mute really quickly, Riley, because I got a phone call from my kid's doctor. Go ahead and finish what you were saying before.
Sorry about that. I couldn't tell what you said. That was all. I was just very confused what happened. Yeah. So that's all of my points for today. I actually do have to get going because I have counseling in about 30 minutes. It seems about 15 minutes away, so I have to get going. But
okay.
Thank you for calling. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye. Hey, thank you all for watching this video. If you don't know me, I'm Jovan Bradley. I'm a leftist content creator who does debates, political commentary, gaming, and more. If this is your first video, thanks for sticking to the end, and I hope you subscribe. I post videos daily, and there are hundreds of past debates on my page for you to enjoy. Thank you to all my YouTube members. Your continued support helps me create as much as I can. Consider joining. A membership starts at $2.99 and gets you access to our community Discord, early access to videos, and more. Shout out to my Tier 4 members, Red Fairy DF, Ellie McReady, Not 3.6R, Sylvia Snow, Paul D, Zurith Moonpaw, Kazim, Never Again, Bamji, Emery Imogene, Ayla Ursus, Call Me Vel, Kelsey K, Jake Gorshander, Matthew Holloway, Vampy, Yemye, Mealy, and Dragon Nerd. Your continued support goes a long way in helping me continue the fight for equity, justice, and education. Thank you again for watching.